What's up guys, I'm Shane with the Angle Disc Golf, and today I'm bringing you the long-awaited forehand tutorial. Let's get into it. So the biggest thing about forehand that I would say is probably different would be the grip. I'm a huge proponent of do whatever feels comfortable to you. So some people like to power grip, and that's okay. I actually feel that there's more control with this grip than power. That's just something that I've come to realize as I'm doing it. But I actually use a 2-finger grip. Sometimes I will stack it for control. For raw power, I'm just 2-finger the whole way. And I'm actually, the most important part I think, is controlling the angle of the disc with this thumb pressure. So if you see the top pros, you know, they're not throwing a forehand like this and then all of a sudden they pop it up to flat. It's in here tight, it's being pushed down on. My flight plate is actually being bent a little bit when I'm throwing a forehand, because this will give me a consistent release out here. If you have not watched my basic upshot forehand video, I would strongly suggest going and watching that. I actually go through wrist motion and this tension that you're supposed to feel on the disc when you actually throw a forehand. If you don't have that basics, I'm just going to refer to it as basic because it's the basic forehand setup. So go and watch that real quick and then pop on back to this video and we'll get into it further. Alright guys, so with the beginner series I talked about this wrist right here being a chain of events. So there's actually a larger chain of events when you're talking about a run-up and a more full-powered forehand. So I'm going to talk about those. We all know that when we're throwing backhand or almost anything in sports, we're talking about lower body first. So if you were going to do a standstill full power forehand, there's a chain of events that need to happen in order to have good timing and good power. Those would be your hips. Well, first of all, your feet being in line with your shoulders, your hips rotating through, just like baseball or golf. These are going to pop in here. This elbow is going to lead the charge, because actually when you see somebody do a full power forehand, usually they're like this. It's super awkward, but this compression with this elbow, with this wrist to these fingers is the timing that you need to throw a forehand. So a simple drill that I would practice is standing still, turning your hips while this is pulled straight back and coming through with your elbow and letting it be 1, 2, 3, 4. That will help you to get the timing down for what you need to do, which is that. I'm gonna go get that. All right guys, so now that you have this chain of events with the hips, the elbow, the wrist, and the fingers, we're gonna talk about run-up. I actually use 2 different run-ups. One for about 325 and in, and then one for past that distance where I don't feel that my shortened run-up can really pop them out there, and I need more speed going into the hit. So the first one is my upshot stance, and that looks pretty much like Paul Ulibarri's. If you've ever seen him, he has a slight hop skip right before he plants and then pulls his hips through. So I'll demonstrate that right here. So as you can see, I step with this right foot. It's almost the opposite of an X step. I step with this right foot here, put this here, and then you'll see Nate Sexton, all these famous people that have a little hop in there. It's just replacing this foot and coming through with that chain of events. All right, so next would be my power run up. And this is for anything from 450 to 350, depending on how I feel, or if I need to really put some oomph in a shot that's short and right or something like that. So this is more of an actual run-up. It is a run-up with that chain of events right at the end. So I'm running up and I'm putting everything into this foot here so that when my weight transfers, I can do that chain of events right here, just like a baseball swing. I'm behind this foot the whole time and I come through with that chain of events. Let's look at that. Alright guys, so now that you have an example of run-up, I want to stress the fact that every single person throws differently. Everybody's body moves differently, everyone has different weight to transfer. These basics that I'm trying to instill in you are gonna transfer over, but I want you to develop your own form. So whether you have a hop skip for everything or you run up for everything and transfer the power, I just want you to think about transferring the power, staying behind with your head low in your hit zone, then that chain of events from hips to elbow to wrist to this weight that you feel on the disc being released forward. And then after all that's done, follow through on that same line. This is to prevent injury and to prevent you from chopping at it, so that when you chop at it, it just goes hyzer. So if you follow through on that same line, and now that you've come through with this hand, you can have this shoulder pick up your head. Keeping down over the hit zone is a huge thing. You'll see a lot of the top pros even bend down here, and when they're throwing, they pull up like that. So in recap, we are going to feel this tension on the disc. Run up to where when you're adding speed to your forehand, it's just a continuation of a standstill with these hips, elbow, wrist, fingers. Follow through all the way through to prevent injury. And I hope this video has helped you with your game. Shayne from the Angle Disc Golf. Have a nice day.